Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. Since the Oklahoma Aquarium in Jenks was built in 2003, the Wildlife Department has had a regional office right next door. The location is not only the working offices for several of our regional fisheries and communication and education employees, but it's also one of only a handful of places around the state where you can purchase any of our lifetime hunting and fishing licenses in person. The office is open Monday through Friday, and you're welcome to stop by or maybe even buy a license. An open and accessible wildlife department with offices throughout the state. Just another reason to love Oklahoma and the adventures that await you.
I'll sum it up with two words: explore and adventure. And to me, being a game warden is just the epitome of those.
When you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
This is my office.
We joke all the time. We'll take a picture of a pretty sunset or of an eagle flying over, say this is our office, you know, and it really is.
I never know what the day's gonna bring me. I'll leave the house and drive down the road. I never know what the next turn in the road is gonna be.
If you're pursuing a career as an Oklahoma State game warden, first of all, you've got to love your office space. And this is my office. An Oklahoma State game warden requires a 4-year degree and
At least 12 hours of wildlife-related classes.
we are state law enforcement officers, so we not only protect and serve the sportsmen and wildlife, but we also protect and serve the people of Oklahoma.
Physically, you know, you need to be in shape, being able to climb up stuff, get around things.
You're put through an extensive training with our department where we deal with laws, we deal with scenario-based issues. We put you in really awkward and adverse conditions to see how you're going to react.
You might have to, you know, hike up a mountain, and you might have to swim, you might have to drag a deer.
You have to be cleat certified, which is what any officer in the state of Oklahoma has to go through. We're probably one of the best trained officers out there for all different types of situations.
One of the things that I like about being a game warden is it's a challenge. You can be challenged with the court system, you can be challenged with law changes, you can be challenged with the technology, but there's always something, if you're interested and motivated, there's always something new to learn.
Marine survival, boat training, ATV training, driving training. We have a defensive tactics where you learn how to basically take care of yourself in a really bad situation.
Someone that wants to be a game warden, they're gonna be an outdoor enthusiast. They're gonna love the outdoors. They're gonna be somebody that's interested in the resource, and I think that kind of comes from hunting and fishing a lot. They're gonna be somebody that wants to be involved in their community.
We've got more flexibility than probably any other job, especially law enforcement job. I patrol in a truck, patrol in a boat, patrol on an ATV, and I patrol on horseback. So being an Oklahoma game warden can be quite exciting at times, especially when you make a case, you contact the right people, things can get western pretty quick.
We do sting operations. We will run dummy deer, dummy turkeys. We will run all different kinds of decoys in order to catch violators in areas that we know we have problems.
If you love to hunt and fish, if you love to be outdoors, I mean, there's no better job in my opinion.
If you're thinking of becoming a game warden, you got to realize that there's times where it is fast, it can be stressful, you can struggle at times, but you got to look at the other side of it. It could be the greatest reward you could ever do, thinking that you could be helping the public, you're helping keep the county safe, the wildlife safe, and you're also creating a family within the wildlife department. If you really like to be out on the boat, checking fishermen, checking duck hunters, being on the water, being free. If you really like to patrol at WMA and see cool things like a waterfall, if you really like contacts with the public, if you really like chasing spotlighters, if you really like such a diverse job that one day is completely different than the other day, you should apply to be a game warden.
So if the outdoors, wildlife, and our fish populations are important to you, protecting those is a very worthwhile cause. And if your answer to those is, yes, that's important to me, then being a game warden is for you. And working for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation is the answer.
I love my job. I love what I do. It's hard to say that I work a day in my life when I'm extremely passionate about what I do every day. You think you're somebody that loves the outdoors and a game warden sounds like something you'd want to do? Come on, join our family. We'd be glad to have you.
Yeah, so my name's Riley Willman. I'm a game warden with the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. I'm stationed in Delaware County, which is in the northeast part of Oklahoma. So Delaware County has all facets of outdoor recreation. We have one of the biggest lakes in the state of Oklahoma in Grand Lake. We also have a couple of smaller lakes in Lake Uchee and Lake Spavinaw, which are all great fishing opportunities. We have scenic rivers in Delaware County, in Flint Creek and part of the Illinois River. We also have a large management area in Spavinaw Wildlife Management Area, and tons of public ground between City of Tulsa public ground and the Grand River Dam Authority public hunting areas. So we have a little bit for everyone. We also have a very large outdoor ATV recreation area below Pensacola Dam. And we also have Mid-America Outdoors, which is one of the largest ATV parks in the state of Oklahoma, and certainly one of the most popular. Yeah, so most people recreating in this area, when they travel to this area, they're usually traveling to Grand Lake. It's kind of the star of the show up here, the big attraction. The Bassmaster Classic was held here not too long ago, and we've also held it several times throughout the last 10 years on Grand Lake. The fisheries in the lake is just amazing. Whether you're catfishing, you want to bass fish, you want to catch white bass, crappie, and it's year-round, so it doesn't stop. There's always a target species year-round on Grand Lake. So I've been a game warden for almost 5 years now, and all of it here in Delaware County. And I've seen change across those 5 years, you know, as far as how we operate. And in that change, it's all for the good, right? It's all for the better of the sportsman. It's for the better of the warden and the Department of Wildlife as a whole. I can't speak to how it was 20 years ago because I was still in grade school 20 years ago. But I can confidently say, as we sit today, the job of a game warden is still as important today as it was 20 years ago. We're out protecting the resource, and we're out protecting the public's interest in the outdoors and the public themselves. So I've always had an interest in law enforcement, and when I got into college, I've always had an interest as well for hunting and fishing. It's really been passions of mine. So when I got into college and I really started thinking, what do I want to do with my life? What kind of career do I want? I thought, well, how can I have the best of all worlds? I love hunting and fishing. I'm interested in the career of law enforcement. And it came on like a light bulb, being a game warden. And I started calling around, figuring out what the job entailed. I went on some ride-alongs. I actually got an internship with the department, with our C&E division, and fell in love with it. One of the things I love most about being a game warden is getting to have conversations with people that I've just met. People from all over the country come to this area to recreate in the outdoors, and just being able to have a conversation with them, getting to know them a little bit, finding out their interests, hearing their big fish story, their big deer story. It's a huge bonus to this job. You know, you get to interact with people on a human level. It's not just a, hey, can I check your license? It's an actual conversation between two people, and I love that about this job. Yeah, if you see a game warden out in the field, you know, come up and say hi. We're all very approachable. If you have any questions that you've been thinking of, you know, we would be more than happy to answer those questions. You know, even if you don't see us in the field, but you've got something on your mind, all of our phone numbers are posted in our hunting and fishing regulations. Feel free to give us a call, and we'll do our best to answer that question.
So, where are we going to be hunting tomorrow?
Up in northwestern Oklahoma, the landowners gave us permission to hunt a place up there. It's all sand hills and oak trees, and we'll be hunting water tanks because it's been really dry this summer. And they said they've been seeing a lot of bucks. There's a lot of deer sign, so we should have a pretty decent hunt.
Okay. Now, what are some of the differences in my gun and your gun?
Well, yours fires inline, fires with a percussion cap, and mine's a flintlock.
Now, do you have a preference on either one, which is better?
Well, for me, I've shot both of them, and I've owned all of them, both several different types of ignitions like that. And for me, personally, the flintlock is better. I find it's more reliable for me.
Okay.
But it depends on the individual.
All right. Just seems to me like a newer one would be better.
Well, really, yours looks new because it has a modern style stock. But that style of gun was around 200 years ago.
Okay.
It just never really caught on and stayed with them.
So this has been around a while.
It's been around a long time. They had inline flintlocks 200 years ago.
Now, how old is your gun?
Actually, it's about 10 years old, but it's a copy of a 1830 Lancaster rifle.
Okay.
So really, they're both new guns.
Well, I'm loaded, so do you want me to go and shoot first?
Sure, but you want to try shooting more of a hunting situation this time and shoot offhand?
Okay. Now, what is offhand?
You need to be able to stand up and hold your gun and shoot it because you can't always find a rest.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Actually, I prefer shooting that way. My gun doesn't shoot good off a rest. I've got a strange barrel configuration, and it's built for offhand shooting.
No, why is that? Just because
It's just it's a really heavy barrel for an odd caliber size, and it just doesn't like a rest for some reason. I've never been able to get it to shoot right, but I can shoot it offhand really good.
Okay.
Normally. And when you shoot offhand,
yeah,
what I like to do is get my heel, my ankle bone, across my toe, straight at my target.
Okay.
And have your left arm straight up. If you hold out on the forearm, it's a lot less stable, and I find I'm more stable if my elbow is straight up.
All right.
Good shot, right in the black.
All right, thanks. Do you want to go now?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. Here's the glasses.
Thank you.
And I'll spot for you. Good shot right in the black.
That was a good shot offhand, Adam.
Thank you.
That was your shot. You outshot me on that one.
All right.
You're a pretty good offhand shot. You need to come start shooting competition with us.
All right.
And see, like I told you, mine wouldn't pattern off a bench. That was my first shot and my second one.
Yeah.
And there's your 3.
Okay. You think mine's an offhand rifle too?
Well, it shot good off the bench too.
Yeah.
It's good all around.
Okay.
And I think we can get a deer.
All right.
In western Oklahoma, wildlife biologists continue to tackle the challenge of keeping the landscape wildlife friendly. Historically, western Oklahoma's grasslands and prairies were managed through natural fires caused by lightning storms and sometimes campfires. And it's easy to see how a fire could happen out here on the arid, windy plains, with a yearly rainfall in some areas almost reaching 17 inches. It's just dry. So what's a wildlife department biologist's main frustration? The water-greedy Juniperus virginiana, known as the eastern red cedar. These trees rapidly seed and, without fire, quickly encroach riparian zones and choke out valuable wildlife habitat. In order to combat cedars, biologists and concerned landowners started reintroducing fire through prescribed burn plans. These fires, which are closely watched and heavily managed, are a really useful conservation tool. But fires sometimes are not enough, and a more direct approach is needed. And that approach is called mastication. Marcus Thibodeau, the biologist for Black Kettle, Pack Saddle, and Ellis County WMAs, has seen quick results from this inexpensive management technique.
So this is an example of one of our active riparian enhancement projects we've got going on. So this was a riparian area that was identified as being too choked out or encroached by cedar trees and other undesirable woody vegetation to where turkeys would avoid it or not utilize it. So after working through that process with the NWTF and even some of our partners at like the U.S. Forest Service, like at Black Kettle, we've hired some contractors to come in and open up these roost tree sites. So what they do is they masticate all of the eastern red cedars and undesirable woody vegetation. So mastication literally means to chew up. So they have mulching heads on these heavy pieces of equipment like the one running behind me that come through and chew up all the undesirable woody vegetation and leave it clean. So historically this would have been done by fire, but since that's been suppressed, happening naturally, this stuff has become way overgrown, and with the invasive eastern red cedar really just choked out the turkeys from being able to use this area. And so we bring this equipment in and they bring it back down to this manageable level so that in the future we can come through here and control it with fire. We see turkeys responding to this habitat work immediately. Even with these big machines running, we'll see turkeys start to filter into these areas and make it home. And all of this is paid for by the turkey hunters of Oklahoma and the National Wild Turkey Federation. We also do cooperative projects with the U.S. Forest Service. So we just want to thank and acknowledge all of our partners in making this turkey habitat great again for our in-state and out-of-state hunters that come out here.
Thank you, sir.
That's awesome. Is that your lifetime?
It is.
Congratulations. That's
you.
awesome. Hey, we hope today's stories remind you that Oklahoma is a perfect place to explore. So no matter how you choose to enjoy our state's incredible natural world, remember, your adventure starts with Outdoor Oklahoma. That's great. Yeah, where are we going fishing now? Yeah. Outdoor Oklahoma is produced by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation and is proud to serve and be funded entirely by sportsmen and women and outdoor enthusiasts who love and appreciate all things wild in the great state of Oklahoma. You're welcome. Thank you. You betcha.